think you did this one. So we got we have Zoom guests, so if you want to turn on
Yo, check it.
Guest screen in case he shares the screen. This webcam. What's the audio? What's on? Oh, that's very cool. So I think I could also turn up. Right now, I don't think we need to make this priority. But if I want to this screen share, we can do it. And I would say let's run this, and then after 30 minutes, everybody's and then if you want this review, it's the Zoom guest name. And I'll probably just finish it up. Oh, what's that?
Are you running the show? Look at the setup. Cool.
The only thing I don't have is our streaming chat. What is
Rocky Ridge?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. You don't really train there regular.
Yeah, we used to have a squat.
Yeah, because like you have
It wasn't the free squat. Any other hours, like speaker, water, you know what I
Yeah. All right, ready?
good. We are streaming and recording.
Let's go. All right, gather around, grab a seat. Thank you so much for coming. Just a little introduction. My name's Kevin Chu. I also go by Catfish the Wizard. I DJ a lot of events in the city for the street culture community. Welcome to the Alberta Street Dance Incubator. We'll be covering a lot of career adjacent, revenue generation, grant hustle type concepts. I would love it if all of you were inspired to like find a grant, pick a project, manifest something for the scene if you so choose, or for yourself. Today we're just going to be doing some intros. I'm going to be introducing just kind of like the framework that we're going to be using. We are streaming all of the sessions on Twitch. There is also a Discord that will be accessible for all of y'all to access, to kind of keep track of all of the different directions and resources that are available. The other interesting thing with the Discord is we are piloting the UAN, the Unity Artist Network. So all of you will now get access to that, and then as that starts to grow and develop, there'll be other offerings that will be included in that, other programming, possibly events and battles and things like that. So I guess just a little bit more about myself. Like I said, I DJ a lot of events. I also started in the scene breaking. So I dance with a crew called Grim Reminder. I've been breaking since 2012? Oh wait, no, 2009. Started DJing in 2012. And yeah, for me, I guess where I'll start with that said is just community. I really love community activations. I really love being able to support the community. In fact, for me, it's like the cheat code. I feel like I am very lucky to be able to have this kind of as my job, to organize programming like this. Pamela is also part of the Unity team. She's the program coordinator. So you'll probably be hearing from us as this program goes along. So to kick things off, I just wanted to start with a quick icebreaker, just to kind of like go around, get to know everybody's names. So what I would love to hear is your name, pronouns, how we can respectfully communicate with you, and then either one thing, if you could do anything for the scene, bring any event, any workshop, any battle, what would it be? Or what is being like the most meaningful community event that you've attended? Whether it's been a workshop or an event or a pop-up or anything like that. For me, like I said, my name is Kevin. My pronouns are he, him. Catfish the Wizard is my artist name when I'm DJing. Slim is my breaking name. And for me, if I were to bring anything into the community, it would be something like a broadcasting platform, which is kind of what I'm piloting and testing out right now. So that's cool. I will pass it this way.
Hi everyone, what's up? My name is Ryan. I also go by Jester. He, him. When it comes to what I can bring to the table, or what I would like to see in the community, is find a way to attract more like youth into it, and like kind of close the barrier between structures, because sometimes going to these things is either not accessible or not seen as much. So try to bring that out to like the schools and that.
Amazing. Thank you.
All right, my name is Emandro. I'm a breaker, and I just thought about it right now. That would be fun to have a competition that could raise funds to a good cause in the community or something that needs our attention. I think that would be pretty cool.
Amazing.
Hey guys, my name is Kieran, and my background is dancing, martial arts, and acrobatics. And yeah, I think my thing that I would like to bring to the community aspects would be like crossing the bridges between different modalities, like different styles. I've learned from different systems, and I'd like to kind of help cross-pollinate those ideas and such.
I'm Jolie. I do a lot of street styles right now, teacher as well. My pronouns are she, her. I think something I would love to see, especially here, is more of a focus on community even in our like competitive street studios, bringing us back to the roots of why we do everything versus just fighting for results at a competition.
I'm Eva. My pronouns are she, her. I do a lot of Afro dance in the scene here and help facilitate the Art of Maele crew. And yeah, I would love to see some more interaction between Afro dance community and the other dance communities or dance communities in the city here, and see if we can. It would be cool to put an event together that bridges a lot of street styles together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm Sebastian, disciplinary artist in the city. I do dance, DJ, a bunch of things. He, him, and I think like keep creating spaces for people to show love in the community is the best way to keep creating more projects. This, like in this space, more projects can like grow together. So keep creating these type of spaces for everybody is
Amazing.
something that I can think.
Go back that way.
I'll go first. My name is Alina. My pronouns are not really important, but my people like she, her, thing. I do primarily hip hop, but I'm around. I like to dabble in a lot of street styles. I think if I had one thing that I wanted in the galaxy
there's like niche communities here, niche communities there. I'd like to see that kind of come together and have, you still have style specific battles, but it's like all at one event. I think that'd be interesting.
Very cool.
I'm Mila, she, her. I'm doing like teach hip hop and house are sort of my main two styles, but I do all sort of like swing dance styles all together. Yeah, I think I also just really like to see a bigger like community and sort of mainly been at one studio, but been to lots of battles, and it's like in very different parts and very different fragments, and I'd like to see something that is more like specific style focused, but like not all at one sort of event, or even just having like jams and being able to like have all these different studios sort of actually like work together, not be so separate.
Amazing.
Hi everyone, I'm Anastasia, pronounced as she, her. I've been dancing mostly for now, house, hip hop, and afro, but also I've danced just modern dance contemporary styles. And then we would love to see what's the possibility to kind of like combine street dancing with those more classic kind of styles, which is like, it would be really interesting to see like either performance or like maybe competitions, but maybe like competition is probably not the best one, but like performance, like the stage thing is going that combines street dancing and something like either contemporary or jazz, something like that, just like as experiments.
Awesome. Very cool.
I'm Jordan, she, her. Something meaningful for me has been like training with my crew, Art of Mieli. It's like giving me a really new perspective on dance, but being able to like apply that in other areas of my life. My main style is hip hop, and I would like to put something together that really respects and values hip hop for its authentic form and less like what the commercial scene does to it. Yeah.
Amazing.
My name is Enzo, pronouns he, they. I mainly do hip hop, voguing styles, and I'm currently studying dance at University of Calgary. I would love to see more dance combined with other forms of art in general, or even just media. I've been really interested in film and dance, and then also like other mediums of art, like painting, and just trying to bridge that gap between all the art forms and see where dance and all of those art forms can mix and blend.
That's
I find
amazing.
it interesting.
Hi everybody, my name is Jedediah. Mainly dance hip hop. I also do afro. Shout out to my alien.
Hey.
Shout out Metamorphosis also. Yeah, one thing I would like to see in the Calgary dance scene is an avenue for kids who have an interest in dance but were never really studio kids. So getting like, I know a lot of us here, either your parents put you in dance younger and you grew up with dance and you finally love for it, but kids who like maybe dance were to school or take a dance option and they realize they really love it, but then after high school or post just regular schooling, they're like, what do I know about dance? But you know how to dance, but you don't have like the formal structured training that the people who are in studio kids do. So maybe a type of avenue to get them to a space where when they do come across these studio kids who've been trained, they hold their own to par and not feel like, or have to feel shy because, oh, I'm not at that level. But even though you may not have a formal training, you know what you're doing, you deserve to be in that space. So that's just kind of just bridge that gap. That's one thing that kind of because we have a lot of dope dancers who maybe aren't in the studio scene, but they feel like, I don't know if it's intimidated or they feel like they're not at a level, but they're dope dancers, but they just don't have that avenue to make them feel like, okay, I deserve to be type. So yeah.
Sick.
My name is Dan. I do street styles, dance, and mostly just when I was trying to build niche communities like hustle, things you don't see as much in Western Canada or just Calgary in general.
So I'm Sebastian. I break we dance? Why do we need to dance? And why should we dance? For the ones who dance makes them feel a certain way, we also can touch on that. Really just the philosophy of what dance really means, because it is a form of freedom not a lot of people possess. But on top of that, it's more like people who don't dance and dance, you can just tell there's a difference in a way. And I still didn't think enough about it to describe that difference well enough. But it's a form of being your true authentic self to the fullest that a lot of people do not really appreciate or understand or comprehend. And if we really talk about the philosophy of what dance means to us, humanity's connection to dance determines the next direction of where humanity goes in belief. And yeah, that kind of stuff is maybe we can talk about some.
Dope. Hell yeah. All right, thank you so much for,
Sorry, can I just
yeah,
have
yeah,
to,
you want to add something?
No, I have to leave, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, all good.
I just wanted to come and say hello to everybody, see everyone's face, and I'll see you next week.
Of course. Thank you for coming through. Have a great day. Thank y'all for sharing. That's super dope to hear that everyone kind of has their own ideas of cooking and brewing. It's great to see like different crews representing. Even if you're here as the only member of your crew, that's totally dope too. Bringing those level ups back to the rest of the gang. Just a couple of things to keep in mind also. There's another adjacent program connected to this one. It's called the Unity Artist-Led Event Mentorship Program. So how that works is Unity has this $3,000 budget where somebody from this program, and when I say somebody, like a group, a crew. So it could be, you know, a crew here, it could be one person plus their crew, but they will get an opportunity to apply for this, like guaranteed that $3,000 is going to someone locally here. Last year, we did a breaking incubator program, and NOK was the one that was actually able to facilitate the jam. It was their anniversary jam that they used the money towards. And yeah, with that, you'll have a mentor that you can that we can hire to help you, as well as the funds and whatever other resources. If you need help finding a venue, anything like that, you can all kind of like help out with that. So just something to keep in mind. For the first, I would say 4 weeks, as we start to develop our ideas and our projects, just keep that in mind. But at week 4, halfway through, that's when I want to see those applications. That's when we're going to lock in that group. Hopefully, and I'm still like, this is the part that's pending. I still need confirmation, but the execution of that event. So there's a chance that it might have to be done before July 18th, which is Unity Festival. But if not, then it'll be the end of the calendar year. So just as a possible heads up. Yeah, so I guess right now I'm just gonna kind of walk through some of the frameworks of the program. I mentioned the Discord earlier. So this up here is the Discord. Those links, I emailed everybody earlier this morning. So there's the access to the Discord, also access to the Twitch. The Twitch stream should be live for, I think, 24 to 48 hours after the broadcast, but then we're also going to record it and upload it to the Ontologic YouTube. And all of those links we'll also share in the Discord. So in the Discord here, this is the grant resources document, this first link here. So if you click that, you will be taken to this spreadsheet. And this spreadsheet is essentially just a list of as many of the Canadian grants broken down on a municipal level, provincial level, and a national level, all right? So there's the organization, and I'm still going through these just to make sure that all of them are open. I've noticed some of them since I found them until now have closed, but then same thing, some of the ones that have closed will probably open, okay? And this is also, keep in mind, when you're playing the grant game, the more consistent you are, the more you apply, the more that the granting funders get to know you, the higher the chance that you have of getting it. And a lot of times, if you don't get it, you can ask for feedback, and they'll literally tell you what you can do better next time, what you can change. There's also some grants that are based on a lottery. So as long as you meet the criteria and you apply, you have you know, just like compounded over time. The only caveat to those types of grants is you can't win them multiple times in a row. All right, so I just wanted to show you this resource and maybe just, you know, kind of pinpoint a couple on this. So you just click the link. So this is individual and collectives. So here you would just look up like the deadline, May 13th on this one. And then it just tells you all the details. Individual artists may apply for up to $20,000, or if you're an artist collective, you may apply for up to $25,000. So there's the application portal right here. So that's just like an example of, and this is the CalgaryArtsDevelopment.com. And yeah, like I said, all of these are kind of listed out here. Here's another one. This is the micro grant that I was mentioning. This one has 2 intakes. So the first intake is over, or wait. Yes, the deadline was March, but it reopens again in August. So once you've, you know, got your artist CV together, you've already signed up on the website, you might as well apply for this. That's, I think, $1,500 that you can kind of put to whatever you want. I've seen a lot of people put on events, so battles, jams, could be a workshop series. I've also seen people like travel. So if there's an event, you know, Unity Fest is happening in July 18th. So that, if you need like a letter of support saying like, oh yeah, I want to go out to this event and do a bunch of workshops, I have no problem writing you that letter of support in any way that I can help out. So just also other things to think about as we're locking in these ideas for projects. And then, so there's 2 tabs. So at the bottom tab here is the grant portals. So this is where I've just organized the actual places where you have to register. And this is also documented in the Discord. So this is just like the overview, alberta.ca, Alberta Foundation for the Arts, Calgary Council for the Arts, and then this last one is this third-party application called Hello Darwin. So you can sign up and it'll actually search like a whole bunch of different grant databases. That one you have to pay, but you can get like I think there's like 3 or 4 times you can search the database for free. So yeah, just another tool that you can utilize. So going back to the Discord, so this first post is the Alberta Grant Resource Document, like I just went through. This second post here, and I'll just read it for y'all. This is essentially the mission that Dennis gave us. So a little context. Dennis is the grant wizard locally from Calgary. He works at the Alcove Center for the Arts. He's their developmental director. So they get a lot of grants. They actually get more grants than they expect. They apply for a ton, obviously assume that they're not going to get a lot of them. But this year they got most of them. And he's the one that's making that happen. So I think the 5th session is when Dennis comes in. All right, so by that session, anybody that has a grant proposal ready, he will actually review for you. He will take notes, tell you what to fix, tell you how to dial it in. He will not be rewriting it for you. He will just be reviewing it, adding those notes for you. If you don't have it by that time, I also have a small retainer budget, and this is a first come, first serve. So if you're ready and you have your grant, you know, at that point, I can tap into that retainer budget. $50 per application is what he generally charges. So until the retainer is gone, as many of y'all that have grants that you want reviewed, I can link that up for you. So with that said, this was essentially the mission, the same thing. So he listed out here, Calgary Arts Development, gave you all of the websites for essentially signing up. So here it says, if you are a first-time applicant, this is for the AFA, Alberta Foundation for the Arts. If you are a first-time applicant, email registration@afa@gov.ab.ca at least 5 business days before the application deadline, and include your legal name, the funding opportunity to which you're applying. Here's a list of all of the different ways to find funding. and then to sign up for the portal. Okay? For some of these portals, you have to send an email, and they will send you your username and password. So there's a little bit of a process there where you just have to sign up for the bodies that are actually going to be giving you the money. And then yes, mission number 2 is identify and research potential grants. So find at least one that kind of like, you feel like there might be some kind of alignment. It might be the micro grant. Also keep in mind, certain ones require that you're an organization, or that you're a business, or that you're, and this is where also like linking up. You know, if you know somebody that's part of an organization, if you know somebody that's part of a non-for-profit, that's where these things can also start to align. Different grants will have different opportunities. Yeah, so then this part here, if you don't have an artist CV, this is the other post that's listed here. And Dennis was also very kind to give us a full-on template. And this template is dope because it is yeah, just very intuitive. Essentially, everything in blue is what you have to swap out once you read it. This is the template right here. So yes, delete the text in blue once you've read it, replace the square brackets and content, and then populate it with your own information, etc., etc. I'll just kind of quickly go through this. So here you can see it has a space for your name, for your website, for your socials, a place for your summary. And then the nice thing about this, it prompts you. So for each question, it actually asks you certain questions to help you fill out your artist CV. So for example, arts and cultural training and learning. So the question that it asks you here is, how did you learn your arts and cultural skills? Training and learning can take place in different ways, including outside of a school setting. So that's where you just answer that question, fill it in there, and then fill in the square brackets, you know, kind of like a resume. So all of this, volunteer experience, residencies, artist talks, any awards you might have won, assessments, adjudication, media coverage, memberships, etc. So all of these things, there's a little slot where you can start to fill out and build your artist CVs. And again, this is just a template. If there's a specific thing that maybe your grant is asking for, make sure that those things are also included in artist CVs. Another piece of the puzzle that will be attached to this program is the content creation date. All right, so that will be May 31st, that's week 7. So we have the legendary Jared Herring of Tenzo Studio. He's gonna be coming down to essentially do short interviews or artist briefs, do like a little dance reel if that's your thing. And then the homie Ziad of the foundation is gonna be coming in to get headshots done. So when it comes to your artist CV, this will be an opportunity for you to get all of those things done. Obviously, if you have an idea of what your project is, you can kind of speak to it in your interview, which might also help leverage your application. So all of these things, hopefully, can combine to just increase our chances of getting money for different projects in the scene, for ourselves to travel around and level up. And like I said, the more we apply and the more that these granting bodies even know that there's a demand. Right? If all 20 of you apply for a dance grant and none of you get it, at least that granting body's like, yo, we had to deny 20 people that are all asking for money, we need more money. And there's actually specific examples of certain grants that they'll actually increase the amount of funding that they're offering because the demand is higher. So no matter what, by you applying and just going through the process, even if you don't apply for a grant, you just figure out your artist CV. You know, even then you're a little bit closer to, you know, getting some kind of sponsorship, getting some kind of funding, having someone take you a little bit more seriously in the dance world. Yeah. So that is also there. All of these, like I said, can be found in the Discord. Also, all of the links are also attached on the Google Calendar. Pamela was kind enough to set up that infrastructure just so that the notification is there. And then if you needed just another spot to find these details, that is where those will live. Yeah, okay, so now that I've gone through that, let us go back to just some of these grants, just to kind of get an idea of like other things that are on the radar. So there's the micro grant. There's also stuff I found from Edmonton, stuff that I found from Red Deer. And then, like I said, the bigger the granting body, so for example, Canada Council for the Arts is going to be, they might have more requirements, more hoops that you'll have to jump through. And then the more local a certain granting body is, a lot of times the less hoops you'll have to jump through. And then the most local one will be the Unity one. So that one, like I said, is a $3,000 grant. And then the person that is taking care of that, you might know him, his name's Andel. He goes by DJ B-Bad, he's part of the Unity team. He is also the manager for the Unity Artist Network. So the Unity Artist Network, Unity Charity, just a little bit of context. We're a charity, an official charity. We've been operating this will be our 19th year doing hip hop programming across Canada. Our demographics are 13 to 29 generally. And yeah, we do all kinds of different incubator programs like this. We've had one for rap, we've had one for different dance styles, one for music production. And yeah, hopefully more stuff rolling out as well. So just keeping all of that in the mix. All right, so that's, for the most part, the framework for how we're going to just like navigate the information. We'll be updating more resources as we go. Every day we'll take a little bit of notes. If there's like a certain mission that you want to accomplish, all of those things will also be documented in Discord. Also, if you have any questions, if something doesn't make sense, feel free to just message us on the Discord. Feel free to interact with each other. If you guys find a grant that's dope that maybe I didn't put on the list, pop it up on the Discord and I'll add it to the list with all of the relevant details. And yeah, that Discord is also kind of a pilot evolving space. I would also love eventually to have a space where if anyone has events that are happening, any of your own personal projects that you want to promote, just having a space where we can start to engage with one another and support as well. Any questions about the framework? Yes, Sebastian.
I like the resources. Just a question, if we were to add some more, like a completed example of a successful grant, if you have, or are able to share something like that, just so we can get used to the language and see what a nice, tight, good budget looks like.
No, for sure. I'm just going to make note of that. Because last year, Dennis actually, he brought a grant that he was successful in, and then he broke it down to all the different parts live for us. So I could see him doing that again during his session. If you think that's valuable, I can request that he specifically do that. But on top of that, I'll also try to get a copy of that grant and then post it up on the Discord as well for you to kind of just like observe and be able to maybe use it as a template. But keep in mind, a lot of grants are very, like there's so many grants for so many different things, right? The ones that I've curated, I thought are mostly for like dancers and artists, but there's like all kinds of different grants. So please feel free to like go through the granting portals. Each granting portal will also have a list of all of the different grants that they offer. I didn't take every single grant. I went through the grants and kind of cherry picked the ones I thought were relevant. But depending on your art form, like if you're a videographer or a content creator, you might have access to different grants. You know, if you're someone that's trying to do more like educational type stuff, or you're a studio owner, there might be different types of granting bodies that you can have access to. As well as just like local organizations. This is just grants. Depending on what your project is, you could approach like banks, you can approach businesses, you can approach other local organizations for different types of sponsorship opportunities. And keep that in mind, because we're like throughout these next 8 weeks, we're going to have some pretty legendary people coming through, people with a lot of lore as to how to start your own business, how to start a project, how to level up your content creation workflows. So any types of questions that you might have along the way, please feel free to write them down and ask them at the appropriate times. Any other questions regarding just like the setup, the flow of the program? Hey, dope. Yep. Enzo, did you have something? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so for these sessions, generally it'll be like an hour of this, where we're kind of like learning, someone will be presenting, then there'll be a half-hour segment where Born to Boogie will just help us integrate, will help us lead a discussion on whatever it is that we talked about, or just hold space for us to actually accomplish the mission. You know, if you want to use this time to sign up for the Discord, sign up for all the, the different granting bodies, start, looking through the granting document, that's what that last half hour will be. And then we're also just gonna hold space for, if you wanna chat and hang out afterwards, I'll throw on some music. We have the lino out too, so if you feel like sessioning and getting down, at the end of these sessions, you're more than welcome to bring your dance gear and you can have more of a session, but no pressure. I don't wanna force anybody. In fact, after this session, the people, I don't know if you've heard of the group called It's a Feeling YYC, they also do regular sessions. This session will be at the Ginger group, which I believe is across from Modern Love, 4 p.m. till 6 p.m. So, sorry? The side grab. Thank you. So yeah, a lot of stuff to participate in and take advantage of. But yeah, without further ado, the thing that I wanted to chat about, for me personally, is community engagement. So for me, I've been part of the community for a very long time. I've taken part in a lot of different elements. I like to practice all of the elements of hip hop. Not to say I'm good at all of them, but to practice them, I feel like is a great way for me to map out my own character, my own expression. So it's like when you jump into rap, you start to really think about what's on your mind. Well, how do I use my voice? What do I actually want to say? When you jump into dance, you're thinking more about your physical movement, that expression. When you move into a visual art form, you're thinking about things in a different type of way. When you try to produce a song, that's a totally different environment. When you try to beatbox, all of these things are going to bring different things out of you, and then gives you an opportunity to cultivate that. So if you notice I'm really scared to get into a dance cypher, that's going to feel different than jumping into a rap cypher. It's going to be different than trying to learn how to beatbox. So the cool thing though for me, and the most valuable thing, are the in-between elements of hip hop. So the things that connect all of the elements. For example, freestyling. Freestyling is something you do as a DJ, something you do as a dancer, something you do as a rapper, something that I'm doing literally right now. When you're conversing with somebody, when you go to a job interview, all of those things, the freestyle, that's a part of the puzzle, right? Also, problem solving, right? You gotta figure out, okay, this is a problem within dance. It's like, I need to get this move, or it's like, I need to make this mix, or I need to do this thing. So you start to learn those in-between elements and how you deal with it within your, the context of your character. So for me, I guess a little bit of lore on myself, I am kind of obsessed with games, okay? I really love board games, video games, card games. It's the game mechanics that I'm particularly obsessed about. I believe that life is an open source game where you are the main character and you are responsible for creating and developing the mechanics that you play the game by. So the reason I like this way of thinking is through analyzing learning and through analyzing relationship building, those two skills. I believe that those two skills are the same. When you learn something, you're actually just building a relationship with that thing. And when you're building a relationship with something, you're really learning about that thing. And what I've learned across both of those modalities is the mechanic of play. The mechanic of play is the cheat code. It is the ideal setting for maximum growth, okay? And just observe the universe. Look at kids, look at animals, look at, when are you best at learning and when are you best at building relationships? It's when you're a kid, it's when you're playing, it's when you're having fun. So for me, if I can start to identify the things in my world that are fun, I can start to identify the things that I'm going to excel at in terms of learning, in terms of creating community, in terms of building relationships with myself, with my peers, and with different skills. You build a relationship with literally everything. So with that in mind, trying to create the narrative of your character. This is where the community comes in, okay? So for me to dabble and DJ for the rap communities, there's an organization called Tribe Artists Society. They have an event every Monday, the Monday Rap Night. If you're into rap culture, I would highly suggest checking it out. I DJ for them. There's a homie, Nasty G, Sasha. He also DJs for It's a Feeling. Also DJs for that group. There's another DJ, Good Medicine, Sarah Good Medicine. She also DJs for these communities. And as you start to explore these different community dynamics and these portals, these levels where you can quest, right? You can get loot, you can unlock coins, you can meet new friends to add to your clan list, right? All of these dynamics, for me to see them as games, really gives context for me as to how I can apply myself, as how I can develop my own skills and my own character. So like I said, I'm Catfish the Wizard. Wizard is one of the archetypes of character that I identify with. I also identify with the ninja character, which is why a lot of times I'm behind the scenes. A lot of times when events are happening, you're not gonna know it's me, because I like to do things I like to make moves without letting people know, okay? It's also the same thing I feel like when I'm playing games. That strategy of just kind of, stay back in the shadows, let everybody else make their moves, make their play, and you observe and you analyze how the scene is happening so that when you make your move, you're very effective, all right? Another character that I identify is the pirate. For me, when I started, all of my software was pirated, all of my music was pirated. And not to say that that's what you have to do, but for me, I really believe if you're not making money, you don't need to be spending money, right? When you start making all of this money, that's when you need to start, paying your dues, paying for programs, paying for music, et cetera, et cetera. But with that way of thinking, it's kind of like cheat codes in a game, right? In certain contexts, cheating is bad. If you're in school, that can get you in trouble. But in the game of life, cheating is one of those how do I get the same result in a different kind of way? How do I work outside of the system or create my own system to get the same result? And I feel like hip hop is an amazing example of that, of the cheat codes, of how as a community we can make things happen for ourselves, how we can grow, how we can make money, how we can develop character, how we can develop community. So there's so many different ways that you can engage with community, but it all comes down to your character, right? If you're the type of person that's like I said, if you're into rapping, perfect. If you're into even the roller skating community, last weekend was Jared's birthday. He had a bunch of people go roller skating, right? There's so many overlapping elements that you start to see. And then also people, where you're like, whoa, this person is a house dancer in the house community, but now I'm also seeing them at the crump practices that happen, right? And the cool thing about Calgary is Calgary might not have the population density or that critical mass to have these organic club nights that are just, ciphers are happening all the time. But we are connected in a way where we kind of have to. In order for all these pockets to exist, it takes people that really care, that are down to put in the work. But then as a result, you kind of have to dig a little bit for these pockets of community. And then you start to find that they're actually all connected. So by exploring, and for me, my rule of thumb is follow the fun. Okay? Fun is the magical F word. It's like the lubrication for life. Is by following that and honing in on that, it really helps guide where the most growth potential is, where the most relationship building potential is. And with hip hop, particularly so, because hip hop should be fun, right? If you're trying to dance, and for me, that's kind of why I don't resonate as much with competitions, because I don't find them as fun. Versus when you go out to a different type of an event or a different type of experience where there isn't as much pressure or expectations. And it's different, right? Some people, if you're a highly competitive person or you're very good at winning, it's pretty fun to win, right? But maybe you're not very good at that. Like for me personally, have I ever had a W in a competition? Actually, I have, but it was kind of I just got carried to victory. The person that I was partnered with was this legendary b-boy, and then I was partnered with them. So that was my big W. But the bigger W for me is finding those pockets where you do have fun, where you're down to work and to contribute and to for me, it's like experience points. I really believe that time plus energy equals experience points. And when you put that into something that's fun, there's no cap. For me, when I think about work, for example, work by definition is the expenditure of energy. But I expend way more energy when I'm having fun and when I'm playing. That's when you lose track of time. I don't even remember how many hours I put into this thing. Versus work, especially work that's not fun, you're tracking every single hour. You're doing, you're cutting as many corners as you can. And, at least for me, for the things that I'm not engaged with, that I don't value, that I don't find fun, a lot of times that's what I'm trying to bypass, right? And the other interesting thing that I noted about video games specifically is if there's a game that I'm immersed in where I'm not counting the hours that I'm playing, I'm not tracking. There's always a point in that game where I will have so many coins, I will have so much gold or credits or whatever the in-game value system is, I'll have so much that I'm literally just throwing it away. Anything that inconveniences me in the game that's not fun, take my money, I'm moving past it so that I can just focus on what's fun. And because the thing that's fun in that game, I found out how to extract gold pieces. Because I'm not thinking about it, it's just on autopilot, and I'm grinding at it so hard, there comes a point where you're just like, whoa, I've accumulated all of this. So I feel like that's even more relevant if that entity that you're investing in is community. Because community to me is the long term. That's the long-term vision. As an artist, it's very easy to be selfish. It's very easy to only focus on yourself as to, oh, what do I get out of this? What are my moves that I can do here? But when you find your community, like that's important, because if you don't know yourself, if you don't know what you identify, what's fun for you, how do you know what your community is going to be? So both of those things kind of go hand in hand, right? The other piece of the puzzle that really helps me navigate community dynamics specifically is the difference between like chasing and wanting something versus having something and expressing something. Does that make sense? So, for example, if it's like, oh, I want to be this person's friend, or I want to enter this battle, you're focusing on things that you don't have. You don't have that friendship, you haven't entered that battle. Versus if you're focusing on what you do have and how do I express that, that is, that will give you, from what I believe, the knowledge, the experience, versus focusing on the things that are like, oh, I want this, I'm chasing this, because you've never experienced this. Those are things that you believe, right? Things that you believe you want, you haven't experienced, and as a result, it's not as true of an indication of what's really happening in the community. Because you might think a certain thing, like, oh, I want to win this battle. But then when you're actually at the battle, focusing on what do you have? It's like, you're here, you have the music, you have your friends, and by focusing on what you have, you can only express what you have, right? You can't express something that you haven't experienced before. So for me, by putting myself out there, what do I believe, what do I value, what do I love? Express yourself, and then focus on what's being reflected back to you. That is the key. So rather than chasing of being like, oh, I think I want that, I'm gonna move myself all the way over there, focus in on what you have, put it out there, and then just see what responds. Because a lot of times that indication is the truth. That is, it's the knowledge, right? If someone tells you oh, I'm gonna come to your thing, I'm gonna support, that's, you have to believe them, because you don't know. But if you just, if they show up, then you know that they're here, and that's, it's kind of like even the idea of trust. If someone tells you, yo, trust me, already that's setting off a red flag. Trust isn't one of those things that you believe. Trust is one of those things that you know and experience because the person's just being there every single time, right? So when it comes to grounding yourself, especially within a community, basing that off of what you know, basing that off of your experience. Because a lot of people have a lot of beliefs of themselves. Oh, you should do things that way. You should learn this as the foundation. Oh, this person's doing it wrong. Like, yes, you can believe them, but have that experience. Make sure that you don't just, let it stop there. If you believe, and that this is a powerful thing. I'm not saying one is good and one is bad. They kind of go hand in hand. So for example, if you believe you can't do something, that's not something you've experienced. That's like, oh, I can't get into the cipher. That's your belief. But then when you get into the cipher and you've done it, what happens to that belief? It can't exist. In fact, if you choose to still believe that, that's a different thing. That's called denial. When you choose to deny something that you know is true, that's denial, right? But then when you have that experience of, oh, I can do it, from that point of experience, you can actually create a new belief. And from that new, what do you want to believe now? And that actually gives you more agency as to what do you believe. Because a lot of people don't think about that. Like, where do your beliefs come from? Oh, I believe I can't beat this person in this cipher. I believe I can't DJ. I believe I can't rap. Like, where do those beliefs come from? So, by understanding this mechanic of what do you believe, what do you know? Belief is acceptance without experience. You just accept it. Versus knowledge is just the experience. And in fact, you can know something unbelievable. You experience something that happened to you, you try to tell somebody, they don't believe you. So that is it's pretty deep. For me, it's something that I'm still trying to internalize of even understanding what do I believe versus what do I know, right? Let alone trying to actively pursue that of hey, this is what I believe. How do I then experience that? And from that point of experience, create a new belief for yourself that will perpetuate you into growth. That, for me, is one of those formulas. Yes, and Angela.
Are you saying that experience is what determines whether it's a belief or it's a fact, or
experience?
Whether it's a belief or it's knowledge?
Experience determines knowledge.
Yes.
Belief is just the acceptance of something without experience.
So experience is what we can use to determine what is a belief versus what is true.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, because once you put yourself into that belief of I believe I can't do it, but then you try, and now you know you can do it, right? But you can still, after doing it, you can still believe that I can't do it. It's but you just did it. But I can't. Oh, that was bad. That wasn't good. That's called denial. That's what I'm saying, and that's a different process, right? That's literally you lying to yourself. Of you know you can do it, but you're still telling yourself you can't. Versus belief is someone tells you you can't do it, and you accept it. Oh, I can't do that. And in this case, there's no person that tells you you can't, it's just generally society. It might just be judgment even, right? So, when it comes to community, I really feel that to me is the cheat code for sustainability. No matter what it is that you're doing, if you can find that way to leverage yourself, find your place in that community, and finding out how do you give? What is it that I value? What is it that I want to give? Not what you believe, it's just what you've experienced, where it's if you've experienced a lot of choreography, right? That's your realm, that's where you're at, right? Don't try to, oh, I believe breaking is better, so I have to do, experience, you might believe that, so you might try a breaking class. And then from that experience, that'll help inform your narrative as to where you're at. Versus a lot of people just get stuck in belief land, where especially when it comes to religion or spirituality, it's very easy to be oh, you believe in this guy? Oh, me too, high five. But then, to be validated on your beliefs almost feels like an experience. And that's why people get tricked, and that's why they never move past the belief into the experience of oh, well, this is, this figure, this is what they believe. So experience that. Be a good person. Experience being a good person instead of just, You know, oh yeah, we're both good people. You're good, I'm good. Oh, we believe each other. Like, that's when not a lot of action happens, right? When it comes to belief, belief is a symbol, belief is words, versus experience is action, right? Knowledge is action. So that's, for me, when it comes to like even getting to know somebody, it's like, do you want to just believe them, or do you actually want to get to know them, right? Which is why I also feel like engaging with the community in whatever way is the only way to actually get to know it. Instead of just like sitting back and like, you know, oh, this community looks great, I believe it's good. Only by engaging with the community and experiencing it do you figure out where you actually fit into that mix. So hopefully that helps. I know we talked about some like pretty broad ideas, but I also think that that's the value of hip hop. It gives context for us to figure out some of these bigger issues, gives us like a platform to have conversations about how to navigate our lives, you know, like the bigger picture topics, rather than just, oh yeah, here's this cool dance move, oh yeah, this person won this battle. You know, when it comes to like, yeah, community and sustainability and learning and growth for yourself, all of these opportunities I find exist within community, and that's, to me, where the real value is. It's great to develop yourself as an artist, but you can't have one without the other. Without the context as to your character, as to what you're doing, who's around you, who's supporting you, it'll be very difficult to just, it's like single player mode, right? You're playing by yourself completely, versus having the support of all of these other people around you. And this to me is particularly potent because you really get to just experience the people that are down. You know, like you wouldn't be here in the room. You know, you told me you were gonna be here, but you actionably all showed up to me, which shows me something, right? Now I have the knowledge, and you have the knowledge. These are the people in the community that are down to put in the work, right? Not the people that are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna help you throw that party. Oh yeah, I'll help you throw that jam. And then when it comes to the execution of it, where are they? You know what I mean? Like this, I don't even need to ask who's down. I already know who's down, right? A lot of you, when you're talking about your projects, a lot of you said similar things, you know? So making note of those types of things, I'm not saying everyone has to work with everybody, but as you start to quest through the community and explore these different demographics, these different opportunities, these different circles, and like I said, there's so many, right? Tribe Artist Society on Mondays. There's another one called Cypher Club, if you're into rap. That's once a month on Wednesdays. There's the Crump Sessions that happen on Fridays. There's the University Stage, which is activated, like 4 or 5 days a week? Like there's sessions here that often happen. There's the roller skating community. There's the house community that's happening. There's a music production community that's popping off. There's Green Room, which is like a DJ community. And then the parties, right? So there's so many different things, so many different opportunities that you can explore, but what do you believe? And then what do you want to experience for yourself? Right? And even with this, right? When you look at this list of grants, you might believe, like, oh, I believe that having an event like this would be good for the community. But then when you actually execute it, then you're gonna know some shit. You're gonna have some things to take away, some actual feedback. And I feel like, for me, that's hugely valuable in this. Because this is also one of those things that this is our second year doing an incubator. This is our first time trying to connect more broadly with the street dance community, which is super dope. So I'm just super excited to see what y'all cook up, and let me know how I can help. Any questions regarding community development or any other like adjacent thoughts? Yes?
That means, yeah, after all, based on what you said, the most common factor between all those communities is fun, but also it's community itself. And based on what you said of how community has just all of these positive outcomes, it lines up with just what it means to be human. After all, humans are social creatures. If you're not gonna be social, you're not living up to being the most human of, not the best way to word it, but you know what I mean? Like, we're not being, living up to our fullest humanity.
Yeah, no, I agree. I even think just the idea of like, what is it to be human? You know, like that question is such a broad thing. Everyone has their own opinion. Everyone has their own belief. You know, what do you believe it is to be human? You know, is it to be, because if you look at like society generally, you know, that to me is like NPC mode. If you're not expressing your authentic character, you're an NPC. If I'm at Starbucks, and no offense if anyone works at Starbucks, but if I'm at Starbucks and I'm making an order, I know the dialogue options that are going to be presented to me. I know that if I say this is the dialogue that's going to happen. It's an automated exchange, just like a video game. But if you're aware that that's the case, you can actually kind of like, you can
Add the DLC.
You can add the DLC, but you can cause people to log into their characters. So if I, for example, say like, hey, what's your personal favorite thing on the menu? Now the person is experiencing a dialogue option that they haven't. They're actually having to tune into themselves as, oh yeah, what do I like personally? And by doing that, like kind of non-traditional, not just your autopilot NPC dialogue, you might actually find a secret drink on the menu where it's like, oh wow, I didn't know you could have this kind of drink that's your favorite. So with that same mentality, understanding when are people NPCs versus when are they their true characters. And then when are you an NPC versus when are you your actual true character, let alone what is that character, right? Are you a ninja? Are you a wizard? Are you a pirate? Are you something else? And that to me is like, you know, the world is whatever lore, whatever you're into, you know, like, I just feel like there's so much symbology there as well that you can make those connections to just explore your character. And all of those things are also relevant, right? The more lore and the more context you give to yourself, the more understanding and the more of that you're gonna bring to your community. So that when you're expressing yourself in the circle, and that to me is like where you really see people's characters, right? For example, if you go on a date with somebody, you're just exchanging beliefs. You're saying like word for word, oh yeah, I'm this kind of person, I make this much money, I'm this tall, I have these kinds of non-issues. I promise. Trust me, I'm not a psycho. But then you have some experiences with this person, you're like, holy moly, you're a psycho. But then, it's the same thing with dance, right? When you jump into the circle, someone can be like, oh, I'm the greatest dancer of all time. But then they jump into the circle, you're really gonna figure out that person. You're gonna see, are they cocky? Are they not? Are they supportive? Are they not? Are they positive? Are they not? Right? Do they, for me, I experience it a lot these days with music production. I really like making music with people because you learn so much about them, right? You're seeing their essence. And then when they freestyle, even more so, right? Because when they freestyle, it's like in that exact moment. With rap, it's so interesting because you literally get like the subtitles of what's going on in their brain. You know, if someone has no idea what they're doing, but they're just trying it, they'll say that. They'll say that in their raps, like, yo, I really don't know. I'm just chilling here. I'm just going with the flow. Like, those types of things will start to come out, and you're like, whoa, this is crazy. And on that note, there was one time when I was driving, and I was freestyle rapping by myself, and for some reason, I started rapping about an ex-girlfriend. And it was like the craziest bars I'd ever spit, but I literally made myself cry. It was like a literal like processing of an emotion that I had to pull over. I was like, I can't see, this is dangerous. I had to pull over, give myself a moment to compose myself. But that was one of those moments where I was like, I'd never seen myself as like a rapper. It's not something I identify as. But it was one of those things where I'm like, wow, I really like got something out of my system that I didn't even know was in there. And because I'm sitting in my car, a very comfortable space, all by myself, that was the place, you know, where it could actually come out. So to me, that was one of those like, kind of like paradigm shifting moments where I'm like, I don't have to be good at something or identify with something within hip hop to get value out of it. And not even just hip hop, that could be anything, right? So that's why I really love the approach of learning and relationship building being this kind of like foundational mechanic that is based on fun and playing and games. So if you ever talk to me and I start talking about games, don't just think that I'm talking about games I'm playing. I'm probably talking about my life. Any other questions, thoughts, comments?
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
You did mention that we're all like kind of playing a game, and from what you said, I understand that we're all just like, you know, if you're playing a game and you know this game, the good thing about this game is nobody knows what the hell is going on. So you see, the more you learn about the game is to learn about the game and to learn about your character, you need to interact with more characters. And that's how I understood it was from your analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of like learn what it means to be human the more humans you interact with. Because every human carries a lens of what it means to be human, because they are human. Yeah.
For sure, but again, it depends on like the level that you're playing. You know, if I'm playing the Starbucks level, what am I really learning about humans at that point?
No, that's
you know?
the DLC is basically the free will. That's what the DLC is.
Yeah, it's like where do you actively want to play the game? You know,
Yes.
what levels are you engaging with on the regular? And that's where your lifestyle comes in, right?
Yeah.
Where you're just like, you know, if you're part of a crew, or if you're part of an organization that's doing something, or yeah, any of these like bigger picture ongoing lifestyle dynamics, I feel like can really help you also navigate, because those become pillars of like, you know, if you're regularly going to It's a Feeling session, that's a group of people, right? All of those people have their own stories, have their own depth. But if you don't have your own depth figured out, like, you're not going to be able to relate to somebody on that level, you know? It's kind of like work relationships. Like if you're just working a 9-to-5 job, your NPC mode job, like those connections only really go as deep as you go with that job. But then the cool thing with the community, if this community is what you're basing like the depth of your character on, it's how you're exploring the like infinite nature of yourself, right? Because like how deep does your character go? Like, infinitely so, right? So it's like the deeper you can get into that, the more you can actually vibe with other people, right? And then that's also where the dance comes in. Because to just exchange words, that's only so deep. But to exchange movement, that's a whole other level. To exchange energy, to exchange emotions, to align on the same frequency dancing together. You know, to overcome adversity as a crew, to win a battle, like to grind your way up. Like, all of those things are pretty significant experiences for your character, right? Even applying for a grant, you know, like you might believe I can't do it. I believe that I'm not worthy of money, but then as you start doing it, you know, you apply for the grant, you meet the person, you get denied. But then maybe you get that feedback as to like, oh, this is why you got denied. Just included the wrong information. All of these things can really, I feel like, help you, yeah, just kind of determine where you want to go and how to pivot and freestyle, right? We're just adapting based on what life throws us, and I feel like dance is such a beautiful place to develop that framework. One other kind of like deep idea that I would love to share with you is the cheat code to turn something from positive to negative, essentially. So that, like, so if I want to go from like a weakness to a strength, if I want to go from anxiety to excitement, like all of these things you can do through non-judgment. So non-judgment is also a big piece of the puzzle when it comes to dancing. And you'll probably notice, and in hip-hop, right, there's a lot of judgment in hip-hop, self-judgment, judging other people, literally having judges pick a side. But the idea of non-judgment allows you that fluidity to make it whatever it has to be. So for example, if I'm injured, if I view that as something bad and I've judged it, you don't face things that are bad. You don't focus on them. You don't analyze them. You don't study them. You hide them. You're ashamed of them. You bury them. But if you view a weakness as potential for growth, right? So it's like, I hurt my leg. But then I went through the physio, so I'm down to face it. This isn't bad. This is just a stepping stone. You learn how to physio that piece of your body back to health. Somebody else has the same injury. If you can now share your experience of what you did, you just became a healer in that thing. So it's literally a weakness has now turned into a strength, a superpower, because you didn't focus on the bad. You didn't say, oh, this is bad, I'm in a bad place. It is what it is. You have that choice of what do you want it to be, right? And it's the same thing for anxiety. A lot of people think it's bad, right? When something is bad, just pop an anxiety pill. Now you disconnect from the feeling, you don't feel it. That doesn't mean it's gone. It means it's still there. It's just you're not aware of it anymore. So versus being like, oh wow, anxiety, let's analyze it, let's study it. Where does it exist? In my stomach. How about excitement? Where does that live? In my stomach. Oh, anxiety is future tense. Oh, how about excitement? Oh, also future tense. The difference is literally just perspective. If I'm going into a cipher and I'm thinking like, what if I lose? What if I fuck up? This person doesn't like me. They're gonna see me. They're gonna judge me. Then I'm feeling anxious. But if I'm focusing on like, oh, this is my favorite song. Oh, Gomo's here. I love that guy. Oh, this is an event. These are my people. This is my community. The vibe is awesome. Like, then it's gonna be way easier to feel excited, right? And then if you think about the outcome, you think about even just interacting in a conversation. If you talk to somebody anxious that's like sketched out, how do you feel? You feel sus. You're like, I don't know if I should talk to this person. But if you talk to someone excited, how much better does that conversation go, right? And it's the same thing when you're ciphering. Like, do you think you're gonna dance better? Because dance is a conversation. If you're talking to your friends and you're anxious to say something, it's like, why, right? Versus if you're excited, if both people are excited to talk in a cipher, that's a great exchange, right? So just thinking about those dynamics, and for me, I literally, when I was training and I was doing more like battling, I had a specific technique. I called it the smiling tiger technique, where I would take however much anxiety that I was feeling and focus on it. And through eye contact and through a smile, I would try to channel that energy as much as I could. And what I found was that when you're battling somebody, it's kind of like fighting somebody. If you're fighting somebody that's smiling and excited to fight you, that can be kind of intimidating. That can work in your favor. But if you're smiling and you're excited to talk to your friend, then both of you are just super stoked. So either way, it really helped me get into the cipher and actually have more fun and actually not focus on like, oh, I lost. Oh, my value of a dancer is one more L. Because I also used to be very judgmental, right? For me, that's for me more of like a cultural trauma of being like Asian and like all your grades matter and you have to do all of these things, you have to jump through all of these hoops, and if you don't, you're not worthy of love. Obviously that's not true. But like, even for me to understand those elements of myself, of like, I'm very judgmental of myself. So I need to be able to be kind and find ways where I can operate in the community where I don't feel that, right? How do I turn this into a game for myself? That's the last concept.
We have a question from the chat.
Yeah.
Super Max Size. Oh no, Super Mike Size. He says, for community engagement, what do you think are the biggest things to consistently do to increase growth or interest in what the community does? What helps more people buy into a particular dance movement or your experience?
I honestly think, bringing it back to what I've already said, of focusing kind of on yourself and what's fun for you. Because what's fun for you, and when you figure out your narrative within the community, that's your place. That's what's going to be there for the long term. Right? That's the thing that's not going away. Because if you go into the community and you have this belief that like, oh, the community needs more battles, and that's what you're going in to just try to do that. You know, once that's done, then what? Cool, there's more battles. Now what? You know, where do you exist in that? What are you going to consistently do for you? Right? And not to say it has to be forever. Everything evolves and changes. But that's the key piece. And that's for me, like I said, why I feel like community is the cheat code. If you can find your way to interface with it. So for me, at first, it was just dance, where all I was doing was breaking and battling. And then I started to like get into these other elements, started to freestyle a little bit, started to DJ a little bit, started to do all these other things where I actually started to map out way more of the community. Oh, I have friends in this side of the community. I have friends in this side of the community. And it started to really put together this like quest map for me, where it's like, oh, I'm DJing for the choreo people, and I'm doing these open style battles, and I'm interacting with the rap community. And then there's these specific rappers. Every time they do a show, I DJ for them. Oh, and I'm teaching here, and I'm doing this initiative. Even this job, I feel like, is kind of like the culmination of just like all of these different community connections that I've had that have built up to be like, oh, Kevin would be a great person to fill this role. And even now in this position, because I'm so embedded in community, like the partners that I engage with, even this space, like the person that owns this space is actually my friend. It's someone that I've worked with through other community engagements, but now the stars have aligned where we can actually both support each other. Whereby me doing this program here is helping the space. And by the space being here, opening it up for this to happen is helping us. So I feel like the deeper embedded into a community you get, the more of those types of opportunities exist. And the kind of like richer the story, the narrative of your life becomes, where it's like, what else can I do? What else would I want to do? I went to school for engineering. I went to SAIT and I got my mechanical engineering technologist's diploma, living at my parents' house right now. And I did it for them, straight up. And that was one of those things where I'm like, I don't know how I would go back to that. You know, it's not like, my story doesn't involve engineering in that context. For me, it's like the perspective of engineering, of breaking things down to their fundamental components and understanding how they work. Like the perspective, that's how I approach like relationship building and understanding game mechanics and community development, is almost from that perspective, but like the game of engineering is not for me, right? So for me, to kind of, again, just wrap up that idea of how do you become effective in community is work on yourself, right? The higher level you are, all of those levels you can now bring to your community. If you're only level 1, you can participate in community, but you're not going to really be able to like help fight the final boss. You know what I mean? So, and then vice versa is like, as you develop yourself in that community, there's going to be people that you're interacting with, people that you're questing with, organizations that you're uncovering, other things that you're supporting, right? And then the more fun that you're having, right? The more inspired you are to make these moves, to make these connections, you know? That's when you really go above and beyond to do something, right? If this was just my job, I would be, you know, like, and if this was a job I didn't enjoy, where I'm just like, okay, how do I do the very most minimal to execute what I have to do, tick all the boxes, and then get paid? But because I really love what I do, and it's super dope that this is connected to all of these other adjacent portals that I'm questing, it just makes sense for me to like just put as much as I can into it. And then that will feed itself, and that will feed the community. I'm gonna get way more out of the experience because I've poured myself into this, but then other people are also gonna get way more out of the experience because of the amount of effort that I put into it. Because it's something that's fun, something that I have a lot of depth and I've explored for, yeah, just a very long time. But that's the hard part, right? It's getting to know yourself. It's figuring out where do you fit relative to your community? What is that context? What is the story of your character relative to the other parts, right? Any other thoughts? We've got 7 minutes. Hey, all right. Well, maybe we just take some time to start thinking about those grants. Feel free to start questing through some of the resources. Yeah, Jordan, do you have any discussion thoughts?
Well, just for everyone here, like if there's anything that Kevin talked about that is really enlightening you, feel free, yeah, the resources are all there. But at the same time, because just from hearing everyone's stories and projects, you're very alike. So this is like a perfect time for everyone here to start networking as well. You know what I mean? Because we all have the same vision, is using the dance and trying to develop it and make it better within this community. So we have a bunch of amazing people here that can do that. You know what I'm saying? So of course, like, we'll take a bit of time. You can go through stuff at the same time. Mingle. I'll probably ask Kevin, like, test play on music. So there's a little dance for here too. If you just need a moment just to let the juices flow, do a little two-step, but that's about it, yeah. But, yeah, thank you, Kevin.
Hey, dope.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for joining me for section 1. Next week, we have the legendary Alan Collado, I think is how you say his last name, of the Masses. He's going to be teaching his process on how he teaches and how he stays authentic to street culture. Yeah. And actually, now might be just a good time to review all of the sessions. We got Alan Collado, session 2. Jared Herring, session 3. Session 4 is the panel. We have Vince of the People's Militias crew. He's one of the founders of Pulse Studios. Jill Koh, she's part of this organization called Platform Calgary, which is a startup group. And then Rico Martinez of Pounded Studios, the man that has, I've never known someone to do so many creative projects on such a crazy level. We also have Dennis, like I said, for session 5. We have Ziad of the Foundations for session 6. Session 7 will be the content creation day with Jared and Ziad. And then session 8 will be a pitch day where Jordan will lead that one. So we'll just talk about giving and getting feedback and kind of just talk about, you know, where we're at in terms of our grant projects and whatever we want to do. I just figure it'll be a cool opportunity to kind of like hear the final version of like where everybody's at with whatever projects they're cooking up, and then to just be aware and, you know, be there to all support one another in terms of like whatever future activations might come up. So yeah.
Well,
I'll get that music going. Hey!
So how should we do this? Just stop streaming, stop recording? Yeah, and this, I think we could stop here.